That hasn't happened yet either, but it's about to. Oh, I'm full of good news this morning, huh? Well, really, it is good news. The Lord's coming again. And shall tread it down and break it in pieces. Now, from here, and this is probably not going to be comprehensive. It would take weeks. But I want to go to the book of Revelation, and we're going to see this beast again. You see, it isn't just ancient history. The way things are going in this country, if you want to see ruins, you don't have to go to ancient Greece. Just look around you. Ruination is everywhere. But in Revelation chapter 13, here's John, not Daniel now, but John. And he says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns." 10 horns. Now, when the Roman Empire fell in 3 stages, when it ultimately fell, it fell because of marauding tribes that came in and plundered them. And there were 10 of them. History bears this out. The Goths, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Heruli, the Huns, the Turks, the Franks, the Burgundians. The wars that went on broke Rome down. And the fragments of that Roman Empire went into Europe and became the 10 basic nations of Europe. Europe has more than 10 nations in it, because of all the divisions and different disputes. In fact, Germany itself had over 100 little states at one time, but I'm talking about the 10 basic types of people in Europe, 10 nations. And if you study history, you'll find that you can condense these down into 10. That's what you end up with. Now, if that be true, it gets real interesting, because here's John. He says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea." Here it is, hundreds and hundreds of years after Daniel saw his vision. And he stood upon the sand of the sea, and he said, "I saw a beast rise up out of the sea." One beast, just one, not 4, having 7 heads and 10 horns. We already know from Revelation chapter 17 that the heads are defined as the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. The woman rides the beast. Remember? From your Bible studying? The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. This great harlot, this false religion, this conglomerate of all the religions. And by the way, the city of Rome is built on 7 hills. And you can look that up if you want to and get the names of them. Anytime they have a Capitol building, it's always on a hill, isn't it? Madison, it's on a hill. Washington, it's on a hill. They got to get it up high. It's not an office building, it's a temple. Overseeing the empire of a beast. The word capital in a good dictionary, not one of these $5 ones you pick up. I'm talking about a good dictionary. Look it up. The word capital means the temple of Jupiter or temple of Zeus. That's the meaning of the word. All right? I like to get into word meanings. It really reveals a lot. So he stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So that when this Beast rises up. It has 7 heads, representing the religious structure of the woman riding on it. And it has 10 horns. The 10 primary nations of Europe. Because why? What's another reason for saying that? It's the Mediterranean Sea that we're talking about. You see, the United States clearly is Babylon in prophecy. There's no question about that. But this particular beast, and the Lord has been opening my understanding on this lately, tremendously. This beast is so dreadful, and it's just now rising up, that we need to know about it. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Now, that's a little bit of each. That's a composite of what Daniel saw, but it's all in one now. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Where does the authority for this empire, this government, come from? Satan himself. You know, they just had this Treaty of Lisbon. And there's not a lot of publicity on this. But we now have, and in the Treaty of Lisbon, people don't realize this, it calls for the beheading of all protesters. It's right in the Treaty of Lisbon. England just signed it. Now you watch, England's going to go with the euro. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. Huh? They've always been separate, that pound, you know, their money, the pound sterling, with their symbol, that L with a bar through it, under the scourge or bondage of Lucifer. Funny looking little symbol. It's like our dollar sign under the bondage of Satan. So that when you go and borrow money to buy a house, you take out a mortgage, a death contract, mortuary, mortician, mortgage, and you sign your name next to the dollar sign, saying, I'm under the bondage of Satan, and you sign your name for the death contract. Some of these things never get paid off, you know. You know what they call it in England when they buy something on time? They call it, I'll buy it on the never, never. They're a bit more descriptive than we are over here. Get that on the never, never. But yeah, the dollar sign comes from antiquity. It means under the scourge or under the bondage of Satan. Under the bondage of Lucifer. But you see, it's all going with the euro now. The euro will be the currency of choice and the reserve currency of the entire world. Watch it happen. So he sees this composite beast come out of the sea. The Middle Sea, Mediterranean, is what we're talking about here, because it corresponds with Daniel's vision. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Now remember, whose head was wounded at Calvary? A lot of people think, well, they're going to try and assassinate this dictator or whatever, and he comes back to life. It isn't necessarily saying that. Remember, there's 7 heads, not just one. And we know that prophecy tells us the day would come when Jesus would wound the head of the serpent. Now, he did that at Calvary. That empire was destroyed, wasn't it? See, Satan had built up the Roman Empire. That empire came down. But it's back.